Talking with a Dad, episode 8. Steve, the sponsors.
I want to give a hearty welcome and thank you to Members Mark. Only members allowed. Purified water. Don't trust anything from nature. Trust shit that comes from purified. Thank you guys for sending over these nice bottles of water.
Yeah, thank you for the water, definitely.
You didn't get any, Zach.
Well, okay. I definitely didn't get any. That's why I had to peel the label off of mine. Not anger the sponsors.
What's going on, Zach? How you doing, man?
Not much, man. Not much. This is the post Thanksgiving podcast, right? Which is weird because we're recording it
pre-Thanksgiving,
2 days before Thanksgiving now.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot going on this week. So we had to make sure that all the members here at Gaming with the Dad were able to attend, as Steve tries to keep tabs on his dog.
Yeah.
So
I heard she was having way too much fun over there, and that was like something.
So we had to come in early and get a podcast out. Steve, what do we got going on today, man? What do we?
We got a few things going on here. Nothing that's not been talked about before, but key issues. We need to talk about them again. We need to keep talking about it until the issues get resolved, right? If you're not on our list of reoccurring complaints, that means you're making the game right. You're doing things right.
You're doing it good, right?
That's the bottom line. I haven't had anything bad to say about Borderlands, right?
No, we haven't. Other than you just don't like the game for one weird reason.
No, I like the game, dude. I'm just trying to figure out what the graphics remind me of. I only play Ghost Recon because I'm the only guy keeping the game alive at this point. If it's not, they've already sent me so much merch. Right?
I don't know why you're not breaking it out.
But Zach wants to talk about the new content drop in Modern Warfare.
Yeah, so they just unveiled today. We got new maps, a bunch of new maps actually. Looks like there's going to be 7 new maps in the game. There's a few new Spec Ops experiences. There's some new weapons. There's some new multiplayer modes. So there's a lot going on. We're bringing back some old maps, which is what we're excited about, right, Stevie? Stevie loves these old maps, these old tried and true maps here. We're gonna get crashed.
You're definitely speaking the Queen's English with that "we" right now. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Here at Gaming with the Dad, we're very excited for these old maps. We're gonna get Crash and Vacant back. 2 of the best maps ever made. Now I just hope that they keep the nade spot in Vacant that most of the new players aren't gonna know from back in the day. There's out of back spawn, there's one you could throw a nade directly into the other spawn if you look up in the right spot. It's pretty cheese. I like that. We're gonna keep that back. We're getting Shipment back, which is just a tiny map that's gonna be worthless in this game, but we're gonna get it back anyway. We get a new ground war maps called Port. Don't know what it's about. It looks like it's a port. So who would have thunk? There's 3 new or more because there's 2 named 2v2 maps, and there's an and more section under this little infographic that I'm on here. 3 new multiplayer modes, which I just don't care about, other than Infected's there. I like Infected. In fact, you'll like Infected. Infected.
Is that the zombie?
One person starts as a zombie, and then the other 11 people in the lobby start with guns, and then that one person has to turn everyone else into zombies, and that's how you win. So
nice.
That's a really fun game mode. I have nuked in that so many times in Modern Warfare 3. No one cares about Spec Ops, and there's new weapons. So we get a new multiplayer content drops. The biggest one, probably biggest free one in Call of Duty history, coming to you December 3rd, the same day that Halo comes out.
Nice.
Which is weird that they did that. Which is not weird. Because, nope. They're trying to shut Halo down right off the rip. I mean, listen, I appreciate the content. I really do. But there's a million things still wrong with the game that I would rather have fixed than have content introduced. So
yeah, I know we've gone over the things that you want fixed, and actually, so I went out and did a lot of research on it, just looking through some of the the channels that people communicate their healthy opinions about Modern Warfare on, the Twitter sphere and that cesspool that you call Reddit.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. This is something I've talked about to you before, though, right? I wish that developers would actually listen to what the consumers are saying, right? Because, I mean, there is a portion of the population that's toxic, and they're going to complain no matter how good the game is, right?
Correct.
And
Yeah.
you're not a part of that population. We know who those guys are. They come over your house. They're the one-uppers. You can't take them out. They don't like anything. They complain about the city they're in because they're from another city. We know these people, and they should be nuked and kept in little cages somewhere safe. But there seem to be genuine concerns about the game. I can't pick up on them because I haven't been playing as long as you guys. But if your core audience is saying, I don't care what you add in this game at this point until you fix these issues, you got a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just I would rather them fix the game. I just like make the foot audio balanced the way that it's supposed to be, the way that it has been in past CODs.
Right.
Make sure the guns are balanced. Fix the make Dead Silence a perk, please. For the fucking, it doesn't make any sense as to why it wouldn't be. I don't know. I'm excited for the content drop. I am. As a season 1, there's gonna be added a what do they call it? A season pass. So you'll be able to buy stuff and get cosmetics, but I really truly don't care. unless the game gets fixed. I played it today. I played a few hours today. Was just angry. I didn't have fun the entire time I was playing. So, but on December 3rd, there is a game that is coming out that I'm excited for in Halo. The first Halo on PC since Combat Evolved, Halo Reach, is coming back out as a re-release onto the PC. I have my pre-order down. I don't know if you guys do, but I have my pre-order done already. I'm excited for Halo, man.
That's your excited face, too. I can tell you're pumped up.
No, I'm looking at like a million things on my screen right now. No, I am really excited, though.
What are you most excited about? Because it's not the campaign. I know that.
Well, no, there is an aspect of that, right? I would play I want to play the campaign, but I've never played a Halo game, really. I've played Halo 2 on like a friend's house or something, but I never had an Xbox, and I never really got to play the Halo games, so I want to be able to experience the Halo games.
Yeah, I played the first one with my buddy Sully. Shout out to Zeus. And very infamously, I brought it up multiple times on this channel, made it to the end of the game, right at the final part of the evac, died before I got on the evac. I got to watch the entire end credit scene of him escaping.
As you're dead on the ground there.
But I am excited to play through it. I'm probably going to play that one on controller, though. I'm going to be completely honest.
Why?
Yeah, because I don't think it's really optimized for the keyboard and mouse, to be honest with you.
So
and
I know making assumptions on a game that haven't even come out yet.
That's right. But I'm going to play it on... Listen. You listen to me right now, right? I'm going to play it with a controller. Because that's how it was meant to be played.
Go ahead. I'm going to play a shooter, which shooters are meant to be played on a keyboard and mouse. On a keyboard and mouse. That's just how it's going to go. I mean, we can 1v1 in that, too.
Listen. You can't say it was meant to be played with a keyboard and
mouse. All shooters are meant to be played on a keyboard and mouse.
Not Halo, not the first Halo.
It was released on PC.
The first Halo...
Yes, Combat Evolved was released on PC.
The very first Halo game on the original Xbox.
Halo 1 was released 2001 on the Xbox, 2003 on the PC.
2001 on the Xbox, and then released 2003 on the PC.
Correct. It was released on the PC.
Originally, it was made.
Your question was, hold on. Your question was, did it come out on the PC?
Hold on, listen. Your asthma's kicking up again. You got to calm down. You're gonna start hyperventilating. I'm just gonna play it with controller. See how it feels.
You can play it with a controller. I didn't have any issues with that.
Getting into the feel of the game. Want to see what's gonna happen. When we started doing the player, how are we doing this? Are we playing the campaign? How are we going about this?
I don't know. Are we making content on it? Is that where we're going with this? I don't know.
Oh wait, I thought we were playing with the guys. Are we all we're
gonna play content. We're gonna do the campaign on extreme difficulty. Yeah, with the guys for sure.
Okay. One thing I always remember about the first Halo is the split screen was a horrible, horrible feeling. You gotta imagine me and my buddy at the time playing the game, sitting right next to each other, 2-player, sitting right next to each other with a split screen on a 45-inch TV.
Yeah, I've played split screen before.
It was horrible. It was a horrible experience. So it'd be nice to be able to play and be in the comfort of my own home, right?
Yeah.
And relaxed and stuff like that.
I agree. I'm super excited for the Halo, dude. I want to play. I want to make content on it. I want to play the multiplayer.
Tell me about the list of games here. Halo. What's in the Halo series? Do you know them all by heart? Or
Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo Reach, Halo ODST, Halo 4, and then Halo 5, and then Infinite is coming out next year.
What's ODST stand for? What is that?
I don't know. And that might not be in order. Also, there's like other like garbage games mixed in there, like Halo Wars. Let's see. It was Combat Evolved, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo Wars, the first one, Halo 3 ODST, Halo Reach, Halo 4, Halo 5. Yeah, so I was pretty spot on, other than I had Reach and ODST mixed up.
You're very close.
Yeah, what does ODST stand for?
I don't know. It's
Orbital Drop Shock Troopers.
Oh.
Boom! Got it.
Halo Spartan Strike.
This
is a beloved. This is a beloved game, dude. Like
it is.
It is definitely the game that I've had a few friends who regret buying Xboxes, but they always bought it, so they would be able to
Everyone always buys Halo, dude. Everyone buys Halo. If you have an Xbox and you don't buy Halo, you're some kind of monster that I don't even want to know exists.
Oh my god.
Halo is a beloved game. It's amazing. They're fun.
Are you saying Halo's like that one guy you can't make fun of at the party because it's like everyone loves that one guy? Like no one makes fun of
that's the guy that I make fun of.
No one makes fun of Jeff.
Everyone makes fun of Jeff.
Is it Chad? Chad's the guy that no one makes fun of?
No, everyone makes fun of Chad.
What about Derek?
Derek is the worst one. He's probably in the back with the drugs.
Yeah, Derek's... Derek just paroled again, right?
This is the third time this year.
We were talking about controllers, and I'm going to go on one of my little rants here that I like to drag you into. So I've been doing a lot of research on, you got me into this pro scene, right? So I'll go and I'll watch pro stuff all the time, and I'll watch if they have a competitive PC and then a competitive console scene, I'll go and watch that. So
what games are played on competitive console? I'm just curious. I want to test you a little bit.
What games? Most recently, the only one I can really find if I'm just watching stuff like going back in the past is obviously COD. But people seem to play a lot of sorry, I just bit my tongue right there. Halo. People play a lot of Gears competitively on the console too. They
obviously only place because 4 and 5 are the only two ever released on PC. So
yeah, but I was looking at the controllers that some of these guys use because I was like, okay, Scuff seems to have a market in this industry, and I'm like, I want to see one of the pros with a Scuff though. I've never actually. They all use them, but I've never seen one, and I want to know their actual opinions because I know they get. You can get a Scuff promo code. You can get a Krems Scuff promo code.
They all use them, but
right,
it's just a controller, right? Some of them don't use the paddles on the back. Some of them just like Scump doesn't use the paddles. He just uses the standard controller, no paddles, but he plays claw. So. Right, like I think Krim uses the paddles, and I think a lot of the guys use the paddles. But Scump has been playing claw forever, so he just continues to play claw. He doesn't use the paddles.
Aim assist with most of those games, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So every console game has aim assist.
It's a dirty, dirty word. Dirty words together. Like I went down a rabbit hole in a chat forum that will remain nameless, and just kind of typed in there like, hey guys, I've been playing COD on PC, only played a few games. Want to ask my friends on the console what they think of the PC players.
What did they say?
I wanted to screenshot it. If it wasn't like people that I knew personally in this group, like I would definitely shout them out. But it was as bad as you said it was. Like their feelings towards the PC players are not good. And it's amazing because the debate I got into is they're like, well, you have an unnatural advantage using a mouse and keyboard with the accuracy. And I brought up aim assist. And you would have thought I called someone's mother a whore or something like that. Like I definitely like leaned back when they said that. And I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to play devil's advocate here a little bit. Can you tell me about aim assist? And then there was a pause in the typing. And then all of a sudden I was flooded with I was flooded with information like, doesn't really matter. Your analog game is still gonna be tight. You know, there's some analog sticks that are just loose, and that doesn't really help. And then I was like, I don't know, man. It sounds like you're making my argument. So what you're saying is that the analog stick is loose, correct? Yes. And I'm like, so you're telling me it being loose, you have to compensate for it being loose, correct? Yes. And I'm like, and you do that with pinpoint precision every time? And there was another pause. And it was like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Did you ruin a Facebook chat?
Kind of, sort of. I went under my ghost account, though, so, you know.
You have multiple accounts. That's hilarious. No, dude, like, the issue is that PC players are so elitist and console players are so defensive that there can't ever be, like, an actual conversation between the two.
Right.
So, you know, that's what the issue is. And of course the aim is going to be significantly better on a PC. The mouse is just easier to aim with.
Yeah.
Right? And it always will be.
Well, there's one guy that I love. I meant to send you some of his stuff. Again, I'm not going to promote him on the channel, but he gives like really good reviews on these type of products and stuff like that. And he's a streamer, and he lays it out flat. You know, like he just basically just said, hey, none of this really matters because there is aim assist. You know, and he's like, if it was a feature that I could turn off in the game,
it is.
I would turn there. It is the feature you can turn off. That's what I thought. That's what I thought, dude. I'm like, you can't, like, there has to be a way to like turn this off. But he made it seem like it's some altruistic thing where he's just like, you know, it's just something we deal with, and you try to be honest about it.
So
like,
aim assist is there to help a console player, though.
Okay.
Right. Aim assist is there to help. It doesn't hinder your ability. There's a reason why no one turns it off when you play on a console. You leave the aim assist on. When I was playing the PS4 beta for Modern Warfare, the gunfight one, I turned aim assist. I had aim assist on. Right? I'm not.
Oh, you turned it on.
It's on by default. I'm not leaving it. I'm not turning it off. It's impossible to aim on a controller without aim assist, dude. It just makes your aim sticky. That's it. I don't understand why they think it's a bad thing, of course. But the scuff doesn't help you with that.
No, it doesn't help you with
so
that.
a scuff adds paddles. No, a scuff adds paddles to the back, so you don't have to move your hands from the stick, so you can have more time to aim. So it allows you to 100%. Jump and reload and such.
Unless you're using mod packs, and I'm not talking about scuff because they actually don't. I don't believe that brand, that mark, that brand.
So, okay, so are you talking about modding a controller to help you play the game? Because it's a way different. Like a controller mod is way different than a scuff.
No, I just literally said that. Like, they don't do that. There are other controllers that have paddles on the back where you can assign and map with mods, with rapid fire and stuff like that. But that's
way different. That was an Xbox 360 thing. I didn't know people still did like jitter mods and such. So
yeah, there's a whole thriving community of people who still play games.
I'm sure. That's weird. I guess I didn't really realize that people still did rapid fire mods and such.
But I digress. It's just one of those things. It's like there's so much money to be made in these markets, dude, and I feel bad in this regard, right?
Yeah.
Like so I spent however much I spent on my mouse, right? And then I have this keyboard here, and it's not going to improve who I am as a player and my accuracy, my reaction time or anything like that, dude. But I gotta tell you, man, I got a broken heart for a lot of people that take it so seriously that.
So, I mean, you could put me on a bad keyboard and mouse, right? I use a nice setup in keyboard and mouse, right? And I always will, just because it's what I like. But you could just give me a generic mouse and a generic keyboard, and after a while, I'm still just gonna be the same player I am now. Right. There was a guy, he's still a streamer to this day, but I used to watch his YouTube content way back. Incredible Orb. It was amazing. And he was a really good PC player. He was the person who made PC gaming like first person shooters popularized before streaming was really huge, in my opinion. And his thing always was, people would always ask him in his comments like, hey, what keyboard and mouse do you use? He goes, it doesn't matter. Get your settings dialed, get your gameplay down, and then worry about what keyboard and mouse you're going to be using, because it's not going to make any difference. He's like, you need to get good on what you have before you start trying to blame something else.
No, I mean, you could literally play. And I think I respect that type of response. Where it's like, dude, I could literally play with the stock one that came with my mom's old Dell and
Yeah.
still beat you. You know, like it does not matter that my
Yep.
keyboard doesn't have. It's just it's interesting though, man, because I keep getting this sense that there's this hyper purist gamer approach where people will be like, no, man, I'm not using aim assist, but apparently I'm wrong about that. I've given gamers too much credit.
Every console player uses aim assist. Now, PC can't use aim assist. You cannot have aim assist on a mouse. But if you were using a controller without aim assist, that's just dumb. You're like hindering yourself for no reason. It just doesn't. It doesn't make sense to me why people would even argue against it. Of course, you're using aim assist. You're using your controller. It's okay.
I think it was just the way I responded when they brought up the whole. And I was just like, "Whoa!"
But it also doesn't make your aim perfect. Right?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, please take the floor.
No. I just want to say that, like, I saw some kids. I was watching a video with some kids playing Apex on PlayStation 4, and they were nasty. Yeah, absolutely nasty. And I'm like, man, you guys you're good, man. Like your loot is quick, your shots are way accurate. You know, it's amazing. Like, don't be mad at aim assist. Like, you have
don't be mad at aim assist. You got to use it. But I mean, I was a good console player at one point, right? There's tons of evidence, and there's outliers in both sides, right? There are really, really bad PC players, and there are really, really good console players, right? So there's that, but the average of PC players is better than the average of console players, in my opinion.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how. I'm going to digress from my next statement because it's your area of expertise, right? I'm just going to watch these matches that are going to be coming up soon. I'm going to listen, I'm just going to listen to the COD tournaments. I want to hear what you have to say on these things.
So all the COD tournaments are on console.
I know. That's why I'm just going to listen. I want you to map it out for me, like how good these guys are comparatively.
It's always been on console. I don't understand where you're going with this. It's always been on console. It always will be on console. It's always been on
console. What I'm saying to you is, like, the only games I've played, the only first-person shooter games have all been on PC. Yeah. So I'm going to listen to you break down each one of these matches when we get into the bigger ones, the qualifiers, however you want to do it, and you just tell me how good these guys are and how you think they would stack up if there was a competitive PC COD league. Like, that's what
if you took the best team out of the console league, right, the CDL, and put it up against a PC team right now, the console team would win.
Oh, just smoke them?
They wouldn't smoke them, but they would win, right? And they would win purely based on game knowledge, right? There's a lack of game knowledge there for PC players because Call of Duty is not a PC game. I've explained this to you. It is a console game. So those guys have been playing since COD 4 on the console, and where PC players might pick up one or two CODs and then be like, okay, cool, whatever, we're playing this for a little while. Like Shroud's probably only played 3 Call of Duties. Right, so he doesn't have the game knowledge. He doesn't have the map knowledge. Obviously, he's amazing, right? His aim is incredible, but he also isn't going to know when to, push a hill or flood a hill versus to sit on the outside and get picks, right? Because Counter-Strike plays entirely different from Call of Duty, and any other PC shooter plays entirely different than the way Call of Duty plays. Call of Duty is a genre of its own in the way that it plays. So
how long has it been on PC? How long have you been able to play?
Every game.
Every game. But it's just never developed to the point where people.
The only ever real scene developed around Call of Duty was around COD 4, the one that released in 2007. And there was a pro mod scene around it where they modded the game, put up the FOV, up the frames per second, and then there was that, but it was only like search and destroy. So there's never been a real competitive scene around the PC community in Call of Duty because the community in Call of Duty on the PC is probably 12,000 players. Right, versus the console, which is probably a few million. So there's just not a scene to build around it, right? So that's the issue.
All right. I'm looking at this third topic here, and this is something that I'm gonna go on for hours. Like I can literally go on for hours about this.
Oh, the new USADA testing.
Yeah, because in actuality, right? Like, so this is where we begin to start to really separate the casual fan from someone who really cares about the sport, right? And I could give you just chronological information in regards to this topic.
Okay.
From boxing to wrestling, anything that's been like some combat sport, there's always a need to make sure that it's pure. This is not baseball we're talking about. You've heard this before, right? Who cares if baseball players and basketball players take steroids?
Correct.
No one's going to die except for the guy taking the steroid, right? Eventually, his liver's going to give out. His kidneys are going to shut down. He's going to stop being able to pee and taking in liquid in his body because of the type of steroids they're going to take to push themselves to the limit. Fighting's a different thing, right? Even down to Taekwondo point fighting, you're talking about a clear, distinct, and no disrespect to that, to Taekwondo, competitive Taekwondo players, respect. But like, you're talking about an advantage that could get someone hurt, right?
Yes.
So with the USADA screening, I was never one of the people who got upset when USADA stepped into it. I thought it was another way to, make the sport legitimate. It was a great way for the UFC to start paving the way to make the sport more legitimate, especially with their track record, considering their early days up to the point where USADA got involved. But then we start seeing the darker side of USADA coming in, which isn't really the darker side. You start doing a lot of screening. You start exposing other things that we deal with pro athletes, not just fighters. Supplements. Do you take a lot of supplements, Zach?
No.
All right, so here's the thing with supplements, right? There's no governing body like your typical medication,
right,
to really screen these things. So literally,
there's no FDA.
Exactly, it could say that it's from this part of Ohio and this is where this weed grows, but this weed is good to help oxygen flow better through your muscles. But that could be entirely a lie. It's really coming from a factory in China, and you don't know what they're doing to this shit before it hits you. So that's how someone like, I believe it was Dirty Bird Tim Means, started the first lawsuit against a supplement company he popped hot, and he maintained his innocence the entire time. He was like, I would never knowingly take anything to give me an edge. And he sued him. He did something unprecedented. He sued the supplement company. I don't believe he won, but Yoel Romero
did. Yeah, he'll never get that money.
No, they're gonna keep him tied up in litigation forever.
For years, yeah.
That's what rich people do. Here's the thing about this, right? This is the next natural step. John Jones aside, picograms. We all know what John was potentially up to, but there are guys out there where this is going to force them and their camp to be more stringent about what they're putting in their bodies. Literally, if you can afford to hire a camp, you should just bring someone on part-time that's going to call USADA for you, or you call yourself like, these are my post-fight supplements, and these are my pre-fight supplements.
I think you have to do that already. I think you have to.
No, you don't. You're not mandated. They give you a list, and this is the worst thing to do with this population. They're like, hey.
So I actually think you're wrong here. So as far as it goes right now, you have to, when you're taking supplements, you have to submit a list of supplements to your to USADA. And I believe you're supposed to even keep a sample of them just in case something like this happens, so that they could test it, and then they would have to go off the shelf and verify it and test again, right? I've heard enough UFC fighters talk on the Joe Rogan podcast that I know for a fact that every single one of them has said that exact thing verbatim.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Verbatim, Demetrius Johnson had to take an Advil prior to a fight. You are not under mandate to turn over your supplements, but they do have an approved and disapproved list that you are obligated to look at to make sure you're not taking dirty stuff. Because if it was mandated for you to turn it over, then you wouldn't have to go in front of like the Nevada Commission for these issues. It's like, hey, I turned this stuff over. USADA's to blame.
No, I think you have to turn over a list of what you take. I've heard at least 5 UFC fighters talk about that. You have to turn over a list of the supplements that you take. Not how much you take, not when you take them, not where you take them, not how you take them. But you have to turn over a list of, hey, this is what I take.
Was this, can I ask you a question? When they said this, was this before or after they've been tested by USADA?
I don't remember which fighters it were, but everyone's tested by USADA in the UFC.
Okay, so what I'm saying is if it was before they were tested, then you would want to tell them what supplements you put in your system prior to being tested.
Right, I think it's like when you start a camp, or if you change supplements or something, you have to submit a form that says, "Hey, this is what I take." That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard from literal 5 to 7 UFC fighters.
No, so if you're in a screening pool, then you want to be above the board and say, "Hey, this is what I'm taking." But I could be wrong. I'm almost positive There is no mandate that you have to turn it over.
I think he's a turnover list. I think that's what it is. Yeah, I don't want to look it up right now. It's going to cause for a 13-minute drop in airtime here. But that's exactly what I remember hearing from UFC fighters, right? But yeah, so really what the issue with USADA is in the UFC and testing, right, is the fact that the testing has gotten so good that they're able to test for what did they say? A grain of salt in an Olympic-sized swimming pool worth of traces in your system for different drugs, right? So which is like, there has to be a level of, what is performance enhancing and what is just a side effect of something else, right? Generally these are side effects of some sort of performance enhancing drug, but at the levels that John Jones was tested, it's not really going to do anything. We're talking about picograms, right? A picogram is like 5 or 10 tiers down the list of how little things can be. You're talking like atom-sized testing here. So that's the bigger issue with this, is that the testing has gotten so good that it's hard to tell the difference between, okay, is this performance enhancing or is this just something that's in the body?
Right. So per USADA's statement on the subject, this is directly to do with people taking possible supplements that are tainted.
Correct.
And this is the issue. So someone that follows like fights very closely, I'm gonna say this, man. I'm gonna say this in regards to this subject. This is a good way to protect guys beyond the point that they need to be protected, and I think it's just something that needs to happen. I remember an interview with Demetrius Johnson where he called them directly. Called his USADA rep and he's like, "Hey, I need to take an aspirin before a fight. Can I do that?" And they denied it because it's like, you know what? Not because it's going to give him an edge, but because it could potentially make the antihistamine and it can make him pop dirty for something else.
Correct.
So imagine living your life to a point of training where you can't take an aspirin to recoup. Do you understand what I'm saying? We're not talking about smoking weed or anything like that.
No, I understand.
Forget the whole Diaz rip. Like some of the supplements these guys take to help deal with natural like muscle regeneration after a hard train. And I have a heart for these guys going through that. But I also think some fighters have been wrongly popped, and this has been going on long before MMA. This is something that happens in the boxing community as well. Like we're talking about the livelihood of a fighter, and then you get marred with the label cheater too easily without the information being released correctly. So I think this is a good thing.
Yeah, I like that they're really trying to update it, but I think what they really need to do is state like, hey, this is how much you have to pop for before we actually consider it performance enhancing, right? There is a difference between something being a trace amount in your system and something being there for the purpose of performance enhancing, right? And that's where we have to differentiate between what is actually happening with the tainted supplements and someone who's intentionally using like a TJ Dillashaw.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, but that's not that hard to figure out. Like, there's already
there is a threshold, right? There is a
baseline and a library of information to be able to look at to tell what's for performance enhancing and what's for recuperation at an unnatural accelerated rate.
Or what could be there from dirty cooking surfaces or something, right? I'm just making stuff up here, right? But there is a line, right? There is a threshold that you have to cross before something is performance enhancing. And why doesn't USADA just go by that line instead of, hey, you have a picogram in your system, right? Which is so far down the list of way past the threshold of something that's performance enhancing. Like, why don't we make that determination and actually abide by that kind of guideline?
Well, because you have to think about where we're coming into mixed martial arts. I won't even say the UFC, mixed martial arts so late in the game. Like, they come in hard and they have to deal with a lot of things, because if you look at the Pride era, could you imagine if USADA was around during the Pride era of MMA, like the type of stuff these guys were taking back then? And they came in hard. And they cleaned up a lot of stuff. I'm sorry, I keep looking over here because Yoel Romero is the first person who pops up when you type USADA.
That's funny.
But there is a threshold, and there is a library that they can go by and a testing mandate. I mean, they've eliminated a lot of cheaters from mixed martial arts, and they're only going to continue to do that. But a guy like Tim Means, he can't afford to miss one fight.
Right.
He can't afford to miss one fight being wrapped up in this type of stuff. So I think it's good. The only thing that sucks about this though is this is only for the big organizations, right? This doesn't protect the little guy who's coming up in a smaller organization. They are 100% not testing in smaller organizations.
Right, at all.
Yeah. And someone, there's always that fear that, someone's going to go buck nasty and get hurt doing that because he's on a rager.
Yeah. So I'm trying to look up a conversion of how many picograms are in a gram. And it's so many that it's actually giving me a formula and not an actual number. So it's one picogram to a gram it's like point, then 12 zeros, and then 1 gram. So it's so little. It's it's so little, dude. It's so little, like amounts of anything that it doesn't matter, right? Like, at what point do we get to, okay, this was a performance enhancing, right? Because a picogram or 17 picograms or 500 picograms is not it. It's not going to help you do anything. It is an incredible trace amount.
Well, let me see, but that's what we're talking about there. And even if we use John in that instance, right? So what went wrong for John there? Bad PR, a bad history, and the fact that people don't know what a picogram is, right? Then you got someone like Daniel Cormier egging up the situation. But the fact is, at that point, when it's that little in your system, there's no way you're benefiting from it in the moment, in the fight.
No, or ever, right?
You don't have to convince me.
A million picograms is still, there's still fucking 5 zeros in front of the 1 after the period. Right, we're still so far down, like, but what's the threshold? Why is USADA testing for something that small?
No. It's not that they're testing for something that small. We had the same problem when I was a substance abuse counselor. It's not that they're intentionally testing for something that small. It's the test is that good that it's picking up that amount.
Right. So, but if we're picking up that amount and we could derive from the information in front of us that a picogram is not going to be performance enhancing, why is that an issue?
So there right there, brother, lies. That's the problem. Not having people educated enough to say, hey, this is not cheating.
But USADA is the people who are supposed to be educated enough to know that this isn't cheating.
Yeah, coming from the Olympics, right? But they're dealing with what used to be
basically USADA didn't do the Olympics. WADA does the Olympics.
What organization did USADA? What were they doing before they came to the UFC?
Independent testing, if I remember correctly. They may have assisted WADA in Olympic testing, but WADA is the governing body that does Olympic testing.
Dude, so they're coming into a scenario where they're doing basically what used to be considered bare knuckle fighting. Like, you can't tell me that there isn't a portion of that screening that isn't bias and prejudice.
Yeah, I mean, fair. But I'm trying to figure out why, like, yeah, so USADA comes from WADA. They're a branch of WADA.
That's what I thought, dude. Like, they didn't just materialize. They were heavily involved in the testing and screening of Olympic athletes, dude.
But they're only for the United States. They don't do outside of.
Yeah. No.
So, but my issue is USADA is supposed to be the people the governing body, right?
Yeah,
they should
100%.
have all of the information in front of them and 100%. Be able to say, hey, a picogram isn't going to help someone do anything. It's a trace amount from his table salt, right?
Dude, you're preaching to the choir. You need to call your boy Brendan Schaub and explain this to him, man. Call that man and explain to him what a picogram is.
He doesn't answer my calls anymore. But who cares about what those people think? USADA is still the one who goes to the UFC and says, hey, this person tested for this. This is the punishment that we need to adhere for 17 picograms. For something that could not possibly in any facet help you do anything. We get that it's an idea that is there as a trace amount from something prior. I understand that. But, like, we got to test either more frequently then to catch him when he was actually doing something that was performance enhancing, or chalk that one up as a loss.
So here's the thing: if we look at the timeline of someone like John Jones, I will say that he popped. I believe if I have to
He's popped multiple times. Let's be fair.
Take it easy, bro. Take it easy. You were starting to make a lot of sense, and now you're not making any sense anymore. Like I felt like we were right here there for a second, because now you know what it feels like to be me, right? When this whole picogram debate broke out, I'm like, bro, do you even understand what a picogram is? Doesn't matter, bro. It was in the system. Daniel Cormier and Brandon Schaub said he cheated. And I'm like, this is less. It's less than. But at any rate, so they're doing the screening and they're revamping the screening so people don't go through that, because you're a real fan of fighting. I would consider you a real fan of fighting. You ruin someone's career when they're labeled a cheater. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, that's
someone who's not in the top 100.
Yeah, someone who's not in the top 100, their career could potentially be done. You know what I'm saying? And forget if he's a boxer. That's very well it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he might not get licensed again for any real fight. So
yeah.
But to attempt to try to answer your question, I don't know why they don't know, right? I remember being a substance abuse counselor, and I remember almost kicking a kid out because it was a faint line of THC that the test had picked up. And I was like, this is clearly past the 30-day threshold. He's legal. Absolutely legal. It's in his fatty glands at this point. We cannot penalize someone for this. And someone has to be willing to make that judgment call, like, hey, we can't penalize this person, which is basically what happened with Nate before his fight, right?
Yeah.
They were like, you know, like someone has to make that judgment call. But then the fans have to deal with it, you know?
I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out.
You're not going to be able to figure out, brother. And this is called the rabbit hole of MMA, right? The fact of the matter is you produce the science and you tell people another fighter.
John's an awful person. I agree.
You know, the hardest thing in life is being a John Jones fan, and he knows this. It's but it's going to get better. I think that we'll get more answers to your question.
I mean, I just want an answer as to, okay, well, what's the threshold, right? Do we have to hit a milligram before it's a threshold, right? Is it a microgram before it's a threshold? Right.
You're asking what the baseline is.
What is the amount that I have to put in my body till I start seeing Brock results? Because I need to know. Right? I need to know.
You think Brock even hesitates before they give him the steroids? He's like, give me all the steroids.
Just give me the needle. You don't know how to do this.
You know what, though, man? What do you think? What do you think? Next 10 years, based on this subject, prediction for MMA, do we start to see it like it's legitimate now?
I think it goes backwards. I think I think something happens to where USADA cancels a big card, and then the UFC kind of just silences them, breaks the contract, and then they're gone.
Even though they're publicly tied to ESPN now, I don't think back. They would have to go back.
How long is that contract? How long is that contract?
Let's look. You're quick with the fingers.
Yeah.
Phrasing. Sorry.
2023.
2023.
Well, it's still 2025, and then there is an extension period for another $1.5 billion from 2023 to 2025.
So they're going to be with them for a little bit.
They're going to be with them for the next 5 years, or 4 years at the minimum. So that's really not that long of a deal, to be honest, right? And then I'm sure they'll sign the next 2 years too. So we're going to get 6 years of ESPN era UFC. And then who knows? You know, was it WMA that owns them right now? They might not even own the UFC at that point, right? They might end up selling again.
Well, we'll see if Dana signs back on. I know
Dana's going to sign back on. What is that man going to do with the rest of his life? Nothing?
Listen.
I would not want him as a promoter, dude. He's the worst.
The fact that he contractually gets more than his fighters, but
he's a promoter. Every promoter does.
Yeah, 100% they do. They shouldn't, though. And that's why you got to respect Floyd Mayweather, right?
He's his own promoter.
Oh, I meant to ask you about that, good buddy old pal of mine. Floyd Mayweather's making some noise, making some.
I saw it, but I don't believe anything that Dana or Floyd says until I see contract signed and some like actual official announcement. Yeah, I saw that they were together and that Floyd was coming out of retirement or something to fight for Dana. But you got to remember, they're also Dana's also starting Zuffa Boxing, and that'll actually be a thing next year or something, right? Like 2020, that's actually going to be a thing, right? We're going to see some UFC, or not some UFC, but some Zuffa branded boxing events. So yeah, I'm sure, right? And it might just be the fact that maybe they signed him as a promoter, right? He might be the promoter for Zuffa Boxing. Who knows, right?
Does anyone care though?
Yeah, I'm sure there are people out there who care. I'm sure. I don't, but I'm sure there are people who care. So, but what do people care about, Steve? What is the real answer to what people care about? What is the most exciting thing that's been announced in the UFC in the last 6 weeks?
John Jones versus Reyes, obviously.
Yeah, did you? So funny. I actually just saw this right before we started the show. Johnny Walker is still talking trash to
who?
Johnny. Yeah, exactly. Johnny Walker is still talking trash to John Jones about how he's gonna go in there and knock him out if they ever fight. And he just lost to a man who has no KO power.
Oh, Hershey kisses. Listen, don't take anything away from Corey Anderson. That was some good, clean MMA boxing.
Right. Well, I'm saying that's literally what Johnny Walker said. He said he lost to a man that doesn't have KO power after he got KO'd. That's the most delusional thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
I'm calling it right now. I was talking to Cash about this. I think Jones calls it a career if he beats Reyes.
Really? You keep saying that. Does that make him the most successful UFC champion of all time?
Light heavyweight.
Light heavyweight. He doesn't make. I thought he has the same amount of. No, because you got to. If I'm being fair, you got to take career and you got to take legacy into it. And I'm going to give it to Demetrius, right? If you're talking about, he was the most dominant,
most extremely classy, honorable guy. You got to give it to Demetrius, right? You got to give it to someone like that, scandal free. If you're talking about legacy, you can give it to a guy like Tyron.
So here's the thing.
Go for it.
John Jones total has 10 title defenses.
Yep.
He is tied for third technically, in the amount of title defenses history. Yep. DJ's at 11, Silva's at 10. Right, he is tied with Silva at 10. Okay. He gets to 12. He has 3 more fights. Sorry. 2 more fights. He has 2 more. Math is hard, dude. That was an incalculable number. He has 2 more fights. Okay. He wants to be number 1 most UFC title defenses of all time.
Right.
And then I think he retires.
So here's the thing, right? I'm just going to be pragmatic about this. If he gets hurt, if he gets put in a real dangerous position and barely skates out of this fight with a victory, he's done. You know why? Because the fighters are getting younger. The light heavyweights are getting bigger.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
They're getting bigger. They're getting stronger. We're seeing heavyweights come down to a light heavyweight division. And I actually do think that John is losing a competitive edge in regard. Like, he might be one of those uber athletes where 30 just isn't a good look. Because he's becoming more... He's always been a tactician when it comes to his fights, but I'm starting to see a type of pause in his fights where it's like he's being extremely smart, and all I'm saying is this is total conjecture. I'm wondering if there's a reason for that. Because besides what he did to Gustafsson, which looked amazing, by the way, completely shut that man down, I'm starting to think that John might just be at a point where he's like, you know what? I don't want to take any serious brain damage, and I don't want my career to end.
He definitely could. On the ground. Yeah, I see that. I for sure see that. But I think he wants to have the most title defenses total ever, and I think he'll retire. So I think he beats Reyes, and I think he beats Anderson, and I think he retires.
You think he beats Reyes easy?
To be fair, unfortunately with the UFC light heavyweight division, there's not enough sample size for me to understand how good of a fighter Reyes is or isn't.
Right.
Right. So he doesn't have 25 fights in the UFC under his belt like the heavyweights do, or some of the 155ers and 145ers, right? Like if you go and say, hey, do you think this person is going to beat Jose Aldo easy? And I'm like, no. The answer is always going to be no, because we've seen Aldo fight so many times, and we know how he's going to fight, and we know how he's going to come in and how he's going to control the fight, unless it's against the Holloway or Connor, right? So I could go back and look at a sample size. Reyes has what, 5 fights in the UFC?
Does it? Is it only 5? He's gonna lose. He's gonna lose for sure. What's the guy's first name?
Dominic.
There we go.
Let's see. I will tell you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He has 6.
6 fights.
He has 6 fights in the UFC. He has 12 total in his career.
He's probably going to get outclassed.
I would think so. Who has he beaten? He's beat Cannonier. He beat an old OSP. He beat Volkan Ozdemir, and he beat an old Chris Weidman. Nothing crazy. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting fight, I guess, because John fights are always interesting, because it's always interesting to see which John comes out that night, right? So whether he's going to totally dominate or not.
John has, in his history, if you go back and look over his fights, has systematically broken down every heavy puncher he's fought. The Thiago fight, I wouldn't say that
was a scary fight.
Yeah, he didn't do what he did to like Glover. Have you ever seen a Glover John Jones fight before?
I think you've told me to watch it, and I don't know if I ever have.
Don't watch High Fidelity. Watch that fight. But I digress. John, stay off the drugs. We wish you the best.
No, we want John on the drugs because he just when he's the best.
Khabib versus Ferguson. How many times has this fight been booked before?
This is number 5. It's been 4 times. So currently the record is 2. It's 2-2, right?
Right.
Khabib has pulled out twice, and so has Tony Ferguson.
Right,
so yeah, it's gonna be an interesting fight. I don't even know, dude.
Zach. You call it right now. You tell me who's gonna win this fight, man. Because I'm gonna put the kids' college money on it because I trust you. You tell me who's gonna win.
Well, the easy money is Khabib, right?
Right.
The easy money is Khabib goes in there and dominates everyone the way that he always does, because everyone looks good going into a Khabib fight until they get Khabib on top of them. Now, the only unfortunate part for Khabib is how good Tony's elbows are off of his back.
Right.
But Khabib notoriously is never within elbow range with you. He's either inside of elbow range, chest to chest, or he's so far out from that you're not going to be able to hit him. Right.
Okay. Who do you got? Who do you got? Stop giving me science. I want to hear it, man.
Khabib.
Who do you got, bro?
I take Khabib. I take Khabib 3rd round TKO.
All right. I'm going to break it down a little bit more than that. I go Ferguson's the first guy to cut him. First time we see Khabib bleed will be in this fight. Also, Ferguson's going to be hopefully paying attention to the last few fights, and he's not going to put out a pawing jab, but a nice, stiff, quick one. Out and in, as Khabib's coming in, I would like to see a cross after that jab when Khabib is beginning to angle for a takedown. And then I think we might see Khabib eat a few clean uppercuts, reaching in, unless he goes back to double. If the Khabib that fought Dustin shows up going for just single legs, he's going to catch a nasty uppercut.
Yeah.
You have sold me on the fact that, first of all, no, his rubber guard isn't going to mean anything in this. Khabib's going to fling his legs to the side.
Yeah, and do whatever.
Pound it. But I was watching some scrambles with Tony, and I almost forget that he was a wrestler as before he was a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And I'm thinking in some of those scrambles, in some of those transitions, there's time where Tony could sneak in some dirty boxing, getting back up, some knees like he likes to do, get funky with it. So I'm going to go with Ferguson.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Ferguson, but he doesn't get it done easily. I think it goes deep into the championship rounds, and I'm gonna give it to him by decision. I think he might be the first guy to beat up Khabib.
Okay. You heard it here first.
So here's the thing, right?
Don't let him go back on this because he flip-flops so hard on fights.
I flip-flop.
You do. You do.
In between. I'm watching these guys' old fights, and God, he does that. Like I'll see something, I'm like, oh man.
The crazy thing is, though, you can watch three Khabib fights. They're all fairly similar.
Yeah, You know who gave him the most trouble though? And when I say trouble, this is relative. Like made him uncomfortable. That Abel Trujillo fight.
Yes, because he was able to take him down.
Yeah, we were seeing scrambles. That was a really good fight, man.
Yeah.
It's big, man. Who else is on that card? Who else?
Nothing announced yet. Nothing announced yet. You see the rumors that Connor's going to fight in January?
Who gives a shit? Who the hell is Connor?
That's a good point. All right.
No, who's he supposed to be fighting?
I didn't see an opponent yet. The rumors is Cowboy. That's what I've been hearing. But
so that'd either be Connor's last fight or Cowboy's last fight.
It's one of the two. One of the two, because they're both going to get paid for sure.
So you're picking me up from the airport on the 14th, and we got a big fight night that night.
Yes. Yes. UFC 245. Huge fight night.
Khabib versus Ferguson. We got to make sure they get there first. So let's not get.
I don't want to talk about Khabib Ferguson until April 17th after they weigh in. That's when I care about it. But yeah, this is a UFC 245 is a huge card. Huge. Just 3 title fights, and a title contention fight. I think at Marlon Moraes and Jose Aldo. But you got Peter. So do you want to start in the undercard? Actually, there's only one undercard fight announced. There's an early prelim fight. There's only one prelim fight announced.
Matt Brown versus Ben Saunders. Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. No one cares. You know what's crazy to me is Jessica I got dropped all the way down to early prelims.
Yep. Well, that's where she's always belonged.
But
and that's no disrespect to Jessica I. Have you followed her career at all?
No.
Like, this is a woman. Oh my goodness. This is a woman. Like, Miesha Tate beat her.
Well, she just fought for a title, though. Hold on a second.
Because there's no one else in the division to fight for the title.
She's 14-7. I'd be angry if I was that in a Call of Duty game, and she's that in her fighting career.
Oh man.
Yeah, she's fought everywhere. But I just okay, whatever. Who cares?
Dude, we're doing hoagies for this fight, man. Doing the crazy hoagie for this one. You know why? Because this is gonna be a good night. 3 championship fights. Amanda Nunes versus.
What is happening? Did I miss a joke? Did someone sneak in here and tell a joke while I was gone?
No, Amanda Nunes versus Jermaine Duranamy. That's when you know the division is shallow, right? This woman won a fight in another division at 145 and qualified for a championship with the champion of that division, who happens to be the champion of the 145 division, dude. Like, this is what they were worried about after Ronda lost the belt, right? So we do have the greatest female fighter in the world right here in front of us, Amanda Nunes. But you know what she's not, dude? She doesn't have any drawing power.
She's no draw. This is going to be a low-selling pay-per-view.
You think so?
Yeah. Usman versus Covington isn't going to sell very much. I'm sorry. Right.
People are coming to watch Covington lose, dude. I didn't know.
Yeah, but they're not. Yeah, I don't know who he lost to, but they're not coming to watch him lose the same that they're going to watch Mayweather lose. Right. He just talks trash, and not very good trash at that, I don't think.
I think he talks world class.
Really? I just think he spits out a bunch of garbage. Yeah, no. Usman hasn't lost since 2013. He lost his second MMA fight ever.
Doesn't count. Now Max Holloway versus Alexander. That guy.
Volkanovski.
This is the fight I'm actually looking at.
This is the fight that I'm picking the dog on for sure.
Yeah, this is gonna be a great one, and the Marlon Jose Aldo fight, and
Peter Yan versus Uriah Faber.
That's gonna be a great fight, dude.
That's a really good main event or main card.
I cannot believe Faber's back, and just like that, he's back, dude.
And just like that, he's gonna kill all the young lions and then retire again.
I'm trying to think, man. Yeah, he's definitely. I think the worst thing I've ever seen happen to a fighter is what happened to Uriah Faber against. What's this guy's name that TJ Dillashaw beat for the belt?
You would be really testing my knowledge there.
Anyway, so
Hannah Barrow.
Hannah Barrow, yeah. So that fight, again, it was just poor Herb Dean is always caught up in this controversy, but Uriah got tagged. and he was down, but he wasn't hurt and he wasn't out. And if I remember correctly, it was like one of those things where he was getting hit and and then he looks up at the ref and basically they call the fight right then and there.
Oh,
and that was
what?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you know Renan Morales only won one fight since he lost to Dillashaw in 2015?
Yeah. Dude, he can't.
And he beat a guy who doesn't have a picture on Google.
He got worked, dude. By Dillashaw in both those fights. Like now we know TJ was
wow. There's a little bit going on.
Taking that Dragon Ball Z powder. Like,
dude, there's a little bit going on, but
but still, man, I gotta tell you, man, this is exciting stuff for me. Like this, I can't wait for this card.
I'm excited for this card too.
It's gonna be amazing. The only thing that would bring down my mood thinking about this car is thinking about a truck that was supposed to have shatterproof glass and being the guy on stage saying that it had shattered glass after I got out the car with a few of my buddies in matching leather jackets, tight pants, right?
Yeah, I wanted to give an update because I ranted on that in the last podcast for a long time.
Rightfully so.
It's done 250,000 pre-orders already.
Okay, and then help me out here. I'm kind of stupid. Is that good?
Well, cars don't do pre-orders normally.
Okay.
Normally, cars don't really do pre-orders unless it's a special launch. Like the new Ferrari will do a pre-order. The new Lamborghini will do a pre-order. The new Corvette does a pre-order. Right? Okay. You put a deposit down to get one.
No, I get that.
Trucks and stuff you usually don't do a pre-order on. So it's done 250,000, right? So the important thing here is the fact that Elon can now go to a loan company, right, to keep the company afloat, right? We went over their finances last week,
right?
And go, hey, we sold 250,000 of these trucks already. This is going to bring in this much revenue. We need a new loan to make up for the Model 3 sucking all of our money out of our company. And that keeps the company afloat for another year. That's why that's important. Did you also see the videos that came out after the thing where they were like, oh, hey, we actually threw the steel ball against the glass here and it didn't break? Did you see that video? No. This two super sketchy videos come out after, right? One is it was them throwing the ball against the glass and the glass didn't break, right? But the door was open. They put like a blanket over it. The door was actually open about that much, so it compresses, right? So there's a little bit less there. There was no B-pillar paneling, wasn't there, so there was nothing for it to bang off of or no pressure from the side. So there was a little bit of a sketchy video there. And then there was the ad that came out of it versus a Ford F-150 and a tug of war, and the Cybertruck takes away. Right. So you know what the sketchy part about that is? The F-150, A, was a base spec F-150 versus the top spec Cybertruck, and B, it was in 2-wheel drive and not 4-wheel drive.
Yeah, someone did a whole video on why that was a pointless test. Either way, then they brought up those variables you just mentioned, but they also just brought up why that was a pointless test. Cool.
It could tow. It could tow. Right. That's what it's getting at, is that it can tow. But yeah, Elon gets to go to whoever and say, hey, we need another round of investments. We're losing X amount of money, but with your investment, I think we could turn that around to profiting $1 billion a quarter, like every other major car manufacturer in the world. And that's based off this truck. That's what's going to do it. The truck is going to save the company, just like the X was supposed to, just like the 3 was supposed to, just like the S was supposed to, just like the Roadster is going to.
So I was looking at a couple of reviewers who have pre-ordered the truck, and they talk about why they pre-ordered it.
Oh, everyone has.
Yeah, the general consensus is like, yeah, it was a horrible launch. Possibly the worst launch for any product that's ever come out before. Like, you could not ask for a worse moment. But it's a lot more tech enthusiasts just ordering it because they're like, hey, this is the next stage and evolution of what might be automobiles, and I want to support this.
What you see is a lot of people who already own Teslas is pre-ordering another Tesla.
Yeah.
They're I don't know. I don't want to rant about Teslas again. And I could rant about how Elon is. Yeah, but we did that last week. We could do it again next week. I could do it every week. As much as I like Elon, because I really do, and I actually think his cars are nice, but he is a complete and utter scam artist.
Dude, look, if you don't rant, then I'm going to start talking politics, because that's the only thing keeping me talking about the stuff I watch all day on CNN and Fox News and OA. And actually, you know what? Are we going to cover the real fights? Are we going to cover the debates at any point? Because whenever I'm feeling bad about myself, I turn on the Democratic debates and I start feeling good about myself.
I don't watch the debates until it gets down to like 4 people. Until it gets down to an actual debate instead of everyone just yelling over each other. Because the debate, this is the way the debates go. Proctor asks a question. First 3 people answer it. The next 3 people judge the last 3 people for answering it. And the last person is like, thank you for giving me airtime. Oh, I got cut off already. Okay. Going back to the first 3 on a different question. Now they're talking about the last question again because they don't like this question. Right?
Dude, here's the crazy thing, right? How many of those people do you think went to college? Just humor me. Follow me here. Or
in the Democratic debates?
Yeah.
All of them.
All right, how many of you think would have been exposed to real collegiate level debates?
0. Because I've watched the debates, and they're all sputtering over each other. None of them answer the question. Oddly enough, the only person who actually directly answers the questions usually is Andrew Yang, and that man has 0 chance of even getting 2% of the vote.
The Yang Gang, man, I love that. Well, at this point, we know
I do like that. That's funny.
We know that some people are vying a VP spot, right? At this
point,
who are just trying to get the VP.
But
spot.
who are the main people going to be in the debates, in the actual debates that matter, the primary debates, right? So, who are going to be? It's going to be Biden. It's going to be Warren. Tulsi Gabbard might be in there, and then that's probably, and Buttigieg isn't going to make it. Like all these, none of these guys are going to make it. It's going to be 3 people. It's going to be those 3 people in the final debate. That's an interesting thing that he actually announced he's running. I think Bloomberg might be able to debate with him and actually have a legit debate, but we're gonna see. You know, a lot of people from New York City loved him, and a lot of people hated him. So,
but a lot of people hated him, but they trusted him. In their hatred, they trusted him more than they ever trusted a Giuliani or a Mayor Dinkins or a Koch, because they, he has
or this new guy. I knew there was going to be a reaction there.
No, I got to tell you, like, I would be in breach of some. I got to tell you an off-air story about a bad joke I made around one of his people, not knowing it was one of his people that worked for him.
Sounds good to me. I don't know what they were doing up in Canada where you are, but that's interesting.
Listen, everyone loves gravy and French fries, baby.
I do, but without the cheese curds.
Here's the thing, though, right? So Bloomberg throws his hat in at the last minute, and it's amazing because I'm watching the whole thing unravel on television, right? So this guy apparently, and it is, I'm going to choose my words carefully so I don't get worked up, because we both know I can't get worked up over this topic. I just don't want to disintegrate into that guy. But you just cannot win when you jump into these scenarios, right? So he takes, if I'm to understand it correctly, comment below, because I love to be corrected, and I don't mean that sarcastically. He used his own money for his ad campaigns, flooded it with his ad campaigns, and is running on that fact that there's always a chance he can go independent. Right at this point,
he is worth so much money.
So much money.
Legit money. Hold on. Legit money.
Legit.
Trump on paper is worth $4 billion, right? But Trump capital is probably worth about 100 and change million. Right.
I've heard lower, but that was a very generous.
Right. I'm giving him benefit of the doubt. Right. He owns a lot of very expensive real estate in New York City, and owns is even a little bit sketchy. Bloomberg is legitimately thinking about buying Fox News.
Yeah.
Right. Like this is the amount of money that this man has. He's legitimately thinking about buying Fox News and rebranding it Bloomberg.
Okay, so you just made my point there. What do you think Elizabeth Warren's immediate response to him jumping in and paying for his own act?
Just another rich bureaucrat gonna come in here and try to run the country.
Exactly. More ad hominem. And it's just like,
yep.
At that point, dude, I felt my start to crack a little bit in my hand, and I'm like, because the fact of the matter is, like, and I'll take it to any person that brings it up, Joe Biden was the only chance they had, right? Because this guy is hear me out. In regards to being
was is a good word.
Like, in regards to being a moderate and being relatable to other key demographics, and in that country that want to vote for someone that isn't so far left, right? And what do? They beat that old man down every chance he gets, to the point where he makes less and less sense.
So The real chance, though, is actually the real chance is, and I hate to say this, is Bernie. The real chance to beat Trump is Bernie, and the real chance to beat Trump 4 years ago was Bernie.
I just want to know, I'm not an American, so hey, these problems don't apply.
Oh, I don't care.
You got to ask yourself this question: who's paying for it? Right? In any circumstance, who's paying for it? And that's what I always tell people: let that be your litmus test. Who's paying for it? Who is paying for it?
I agree. Well, we pay higher percentage tax rate up here in Canada anyway for our universal health care. But
it's amazing. I go to the doctor for no reason.
Me too. Every day, like tomorrow. Yeah. So
you're not going to get involved into a four-man knife fight, is what you're saying,
right? And until it's a legitimate, like, okay, now we're actually at the pick who the Democratic nominee is, right? That's more or less when I get interested. I'm not interested when it's 37 people and they have to do 2 debates. So that I could care less about. Well, are we down to 8 now?
Who do we have left?
Bernie, Biden, Buttigieg,
Sanders.
Yes, Warren, Bloomberg now. So that puts us up to.
Is Camilla? Is she still a thing?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I didn't watch these last debates. You did apparently. Gabbard, is Tulsi Gabbard still in there?
I don't know. It's not like the UFC. We can't look up the rankings.
Yeah. I can probably look up Snopes.
I wanted to ask you this question since we're on the podcast, right? And we got we managed to stay on topic pretty good today, but now I'm going to take you off the rails a little bit, man. I know you follow this stuff closely. You don't have to go as deep as you don't want to, because I know the conspiracy thing. Epstein, the Prince, England. What do you think? You can't run from it now. We're on the podcast.
Epstein was friends with so many of those people that that's why he's dead. So that's why he's dead.
Did you see the video of the Prince trying to preemptively defend himself?
It's like, I know you're going to see pictures of me with this man, but I didn't actually know. There's that one. I know there's the one picture. I've seen it. I've seen it everywhere that I'm hugging him. I was trying to keep him away from me.
Yeah, I've had dinner at his house a few times. 76 times over the course of a year. Yeah, we're not that close, though.
There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people left.
Okay.
So I don't care. I don't. Oh, hold on. Sorry. 6? The remaining 6? I don't know. There's like 10 people on the stage right now. So, yeah, I mean, what do you want to know? Right. The man was hung out with the rich and powerful, like the rich and powerful and the royal and the people above that even. And of course he's going to be able to, implicate a lot of people in a lot of things. Right. That's why he's dead. And that's why he didn't go to trial. That's why he didn't get his information out. That's why the woman who fed all of those young children into his island is also now missing. Right. They're looking for her to bring her in for questioning, and suddenly she's not anywhere to be found. So
really?
That's kind of what I heard the last time. Is that a little bit off the rail. I don't follow it as close as you may think I do.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to Google any of that stuff.
No. But when it comes up on Reddit, I'm clicking away. I'm clickety clacking over here. But yeah. There's not really too much to say about it. The guy definitely didn't kill himself. He was definitely either taken from that prison or murdered in that prison. And that's kind of where the conspiracy really is.
So this doesn't qualify as a conspiracy, right?
Yes, it does.
No. For me, it doesn't, because there are some things that are so evident that it's just like you can't deny it. It only will become a conspiracy after you and I are dead. When when our grandkids, if you have kids, when my great grandchildren are debating like, did this thing really happen, floating around in their Elon Musk Cybertrucks, that's when it'll be really considered a conspiracy. Now, what we need to figure out is what's happening to these frogs in the water, because I've been going deep on that one.
Oh, I love that. It's hilarious. So, right after he had died, there were photos of Epstein getting wheeled out of the prison. I can't find those photos anymore.
Yeah, no, that stuff's been cleaned out.
It has been cleaned from the internet.
Yeah.
So, because the issue is that they thought, or the pictures really showed, the person dead sitting there might not have been Epstein. And that's kind of where the issue is. The guy had a different Epstein has a very specific nose structure, right? And jaw structure. He has a very distinct face. The guy that I think I actually just found the photo. Holy shit. I'm on Snopes. Yeah, a whole different ear structure. Yeah. Different nose. Nose is curved over more. Different eyebrow. Yeah, so there's a real thought that he might have just gotten swapped. They might have swapped him.
Or the other one I've heard is that he actually was murdered, and the reason those photos look that bad is because he was not hung. He did not hang himself, but literally throttled to death, which is the only explanation that you would have for a person's face looking different, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree with that.
If we're going down another conspiracy, you know who Whitey is? You've heard me complain about this before. Whitey, the gangster from Boston.
Whitey Ford?
Yes. You heard what happened to him, right?
No.
Okay, so
Whitey Ford was a baseball player, dude.
No, is it Whitey Ford? What's the guy's name? He's the Google it.
Whitey Boston gangster.
Yeah.
Whitey Bulger.
Yes, that guy.
Okay.
So this guy was a notorious gangster and then became a notorious snitch. And per the way the prison system works, he's supposed to be in protective custody or some form of it, or isolated to the SHU for the remainder of his life. Do you know what happened when he got transported to his new prison?
They left the door open. but it was 2018. The guy was 89 years old.
Dude, so what? He's supposed to be a PC. Like, they basically walked him through general population, and then they left him. They might as well be like, snitch.
They're like, snitch, hey, here's this guy. He definitely didn't snitch.
We should do that. That's going to be a new segment we're going to bring up. Zach's favorite 3 conspiracy theories every podcast.
Yeah, he'd been beaten to death. Oh, my God.
They beat that old man to death. Not that he didn't... Yeah. Well, if you know his story, that no one's weeping for him.
Yeah. Wow. Crazy.
Yep. But it looks like we worked our way through everything. Now, are you gonna buy a Tesla truck?
No. I definitely didn't pre-order one already.
Show up to pick me from the airport.
No, dude, they're not coming out until 2021.
Oh, okay, perfect.
We got another few years before it shows up. I'll have it paid off by then.
That dash looks amazing.
It's a Tesla. They all look good. They all look good, dude.
So what can the people look forward to, Zach?
It's gonna be a lot of work for us. The week right after this comes out, there's gonna be a lot of content being made in a few days, right? So we're gonna bust out a lot of content. Look forward to hopefully some more Call of Duty soon. Definitely some more about Borderlands as we're working our way through it. I feel like we're kind of cresting over the edge of when we're actually going to be done here with the main story of Borderlands, but it could go for 35, maybe 40 more hours. I'm not sure. I don't know. I haven't played this far ahead. But yeah, just look forward for more content, more podcasts, and gonna try to get us on some sort of streaming service too. So we're working on that. I just got to figure out what hosting service is the best at this point. So that's where we are.
All right, folks.
And have a good night.